we often look at, as you talk about data as the new oil, we're kind of the old school approach. People talk about the onion and the M&M and your data is at the center. And of course, the M&M is kind of, the oldest approach to it, just put a very thin layer of security around your data and hope, fingers crossed, nothing happens. But when we're looking at the onion, where, data is kind of like that layer right at the center as you start peeling back layer after layer after layer of the onion, can you see identity as maybe being multiple layers of that onion, or is identity one thing within your security posture, or are there multiple layers that are impacted by identity across your entire security landscape?
It's a very good question, Saeed. And I would actually argue that identity plays a role at each layer of the onion. And that's because an organization will have many different types of applications, services, hardware, software to help operate their business. Some are entirely virtual and some are more legacy in terms of operation. But as we
Mhm.
move to a more digitized, automated world and infusing data and technology components into every aspect of the business, things like identity continually show up as key gating components of getting access to things, right? And
Mhm.
it's all about access, right? So
Yeah.
you have login credentials for things like a perimeter security device, like a firewall, or
Mhm.
internal network, like a switch, or server infrastructure that hosts applications or stores data. You'll have identity credentials now for the burgeoning cloud landscape. There's a lot of adoption happening in K-12 and migration or the shift left, shift up, shift left to move legacy infrastructure and servers into the cloud, leveraging the services and advanced capabilities of cloud partners like AWS, GCP, and Microsoft.
Mhm.
So I would say and argue that identity is critical because it touches at every different juncture. There are core key components at the center of every organization, every education organization that kind of manage identity infrastructure. Most K-12s are on Microsoft Entra, for example, or Active Directory if you want to use legacy terminology. And that kind of acts as a gatekeeper, for better or worse, to get to all these different resources, right? It is the traffic cop, so to speak, of are you who you say you are? You have the same username and login password as Michael or Christian or Jamie.
Mhm.
And so, based on that profile, you have certain attributes that gives you access to various areas of this environment and the tools and
Mhm.
resources therein. And it allows you to go certain places. So, putting proper safeguards at every level of that onion and having a defense in depth approach. And identity is not the end all be all.
Mhm.
You still need things like perimeter security. You still need things like zero trust architecture um, to provide a proper defense in depth strategy. But what we're seeing in the adversarial space is much more attention over the past few years to figuring out how to walk in to the house to the front door with keys as opposed to breaking a window or lifting a floorboard, so to speak.
Yeah, and those keys are obviously, our individual login credentials, whether that's, like you said, your target information that is then being used to, get into your company information because you're using the same company email at
Mhm.
logging into your Target account or something like that.
Hopefully,
Um,
people aren't doing that, but that's true. And it's not always people, it's not always actual human users.
mm,
Organizations, K-12s have service accounts, and they utilize
okay.
the service accounts in various different ways to create access, for example, for contractors or other vendors that co-manage certain software or hardware in the environment, or those service accounts are utilized in different functions. But it's
Mhm.
always challenging to keep an eye on everything, especially as people join the business, people leave the business. And making sure that hygiene is in place has become increasingly critical.